If you ever need some of these names, I'd be happy to share them with you. These are great folks working in these areas trying to harvest this methane and make useful work, get motive power out of this stuff. Again, it's the same molecule as in natural gas. Well, this 50 megagram threshold is based on how much material is in the landfill. Okay, so once they get to this level, the landfill operator has to put in these flares to burn off this methane so this methane doesn't have a negative consequence to the environment. Problem is, the 50 megagram threshold is so high, you're talking on the order of 120,000 metric tons per year of carbon dioxide impact from a small landfill. It's not even required to remediate. This dwarfs much of industrial impact, which I find astounding, and why our government has yet to place any real focus on this. I'm shocked. Now, if you look at your state, and I've already swept Georgia, if you look at your state, you'll notice that every county at one time had a landfill. They probably don't now because somebody made them a deal to put in a transfer station to haul it to somebody else's landfill. Okay? They're there for the taking. And a lot of times, the reason why the city of LaGrange was so interested in this, and I honestly didn't know this. At the time when I started this, I was not, and I'm still not, a landfill gas expert. That was not my area of expertise. I was curious of trying to figure out, well, I've conserved this system. I can't get any more out of it. How in the world do I save money with this thing? Because I'm buying natural gas through City Gate from Sonat's pipe out of Henry Hub in Louisiana. I'm getting all these charges, just like everybody else does. So I sat and I listed all the kinetic and potential opportunities for energy that I had in my community. Well, the Southeast is not blessed with wind. We have no wind resource here, so that came off. Okay? Yeah, we can do photovoltaics, but that's hideously expensive. Who can afford that? That came off. Okay, and you start, kind of coming down through the list. Literally the last project on my list, nothing else worked, was landfill gas. I didn't even know where the landfill was, and I walked past the dumpster going into my office every day. Somebody picked it up. I didn't know where it went, didn't care, until I started asking around. Then all of a sudden, like, holy smokes. Putting the responsibility back on the engineering shoulders. We're taught to be conservative. We're taught to be risk averse. We're taught not to take chances, and we're also taught not to do anything outside the corporate boundaries. Well, this was way outside the corporate boundaries. And you know what the biggest stumbling block was? Had nothing to do with the landfill at all. It had to do with my employer signing a 10-year contract for energy. We've never signed a 10-year contract. No kidding. They signed it, and it was EPA Project of the Year in 2005. Well, it's a risky game to play. I'm an old guy. I've been around a long time, so I think I don't know if I've earned that right. That's an arrogant statement, but I decided to risk it because I believe in this. I really am an environmentalist. I'm not a tree hugger, but I don't like to see things wasted. I don't care. I mean, you come into my wood shop, you'll see little containers where whatever my wife buys at the grocery store, I reuse them. I mean, that stuff's things stacked up, and don't make sure you buy that again because I need more of those containers. I don't care if I liked it or not. I like the container. And but I mean, I think everybody does that. I hope to think everybody does that. But I'm getting the feeling that they don't. And landfill gas is an example. I mean, I'm convinced if everybody had a power plant and a landfill in their community, they would learn what conservation really is, because you'd have to live with it. And there have been, and boy, there needs to be more of them, environmental justice lawsuits, discrimination lawsuits about people planting these things in the middle of communities that don't have the voting strength to beat these things down. Every community ought to have this. It's their waste. It's their power. It's like LA going to southern Nevada and trying to put power plants up. And it's like, my goodness, finally the people start saying, hey, you're getting all the benefit, we're getting all the pollution. What is this? But there are ways to deal with this. There are ways to well manage this. And this is a thing that industry and academia can really embrace, these types of projects. This is truly a win-win-win situation. Absolutely, demonstrable. And every community can do this. There's nothing special about me, nothing special about LaGrange, except that I wouldn't shut up about it. And I went into a store. The City of LaGrange did a little, kind of a, I don't know how best to say it. It was kind of a it was a little DVD that they did, and it explained the development of the landfill. And they have a little local, LaGrange is a really neat little town if anybody knows LaGrange. And they have a little local TV station. And you remember Wayne's World? Wayne's World, yeah, that's what it reminds me of. Anyhow, and they showed this little film clip. It was about 45 minutes long about what we did to develop this landfill. Well, I was in one of the local businesses, had to go at lunchtime run some errands, and I took a step into this guy's business, and there was a 17-year-old kid across the counter, and he looks at me, he said, "You're the landfill gas guy." I was like, whoa, I became the poster child for the dump. But what surprised me was the fact that a 17-year-old kid would take the time to watch this and get it. He carried on one of the most lucid conversations with me about how important it was to capture this. Your students are absolutely the same way. I had another situation here. I'm convinced second graders are the savior of this planet. I did some work here, and I don't usually do it at this level. I'm usually in the graduate schools. That's where my positions are. Here in Atlanta, there's a very exclusive private school here called Lovett. And I was asked to go to Lovett and help them with a sustainability program. And so one year, it was right at the beginning of school, September. It was hot. I mean, 95 degrees. Everybody knows the South. And here is a line of cars. Now, we had these meetings after class, line of cars. You name the expensive car, it was sitting there. Okay, I mean, and I'm talking a line 50, 75 cars deep, the Bentleys, the Rolls, the Porsches, they were all sitting there. 95 degrees, they were all turned off. And mostly ladies, excuse me, but they were ladies in the car. And I think they had more on in makeup than the car was worth. And they were sitting there just sweating. I mean, just sweating. And I walked in and I said to the headmaster, Billy Peebles, I said, "Billy," I said, "it's interesting." I said, "Yeah, everybody's kind of sitting out there sweating." He says, "Yeah," he says, "second graders." I said, "What?" He says, "Yeah," he said, "the second graders told their parents that it was embarrassing that their moms would sit there with the cars idling, and it affected change." I said, "Billy, you just solved a problem for me. I know the answer to the financial meltdown. You put a second grader in every boardroom and you ask somebody to justify an unethical action. You can't do it. You can't do it." And I say this in jest, but it is a very, very good lesson for me. Second graders affected change. And you'll listen to your second grader. That's something. Folks, thank you very much. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you. One last time, I'd like to thank our panelists. I think they have given us enough food for thought to go back to campuses and take some serious action. And thank you for not slipping into siesta mode and dozing off, but making this an engaged and interactive session. Thank you once again.
I had a beef burrito right before that, so I was good to go.
You were at my shop, I heard you. You were talking to my wife.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We were sitting at the same table.
What about the bring down the square feet, but I only go from year to year. How can you get